A classic turkey stuffing with sausage, mirepoix, chestnuts, pear, fresh herbs, and a really nice mixture of bread. I started by sauteing some sausage. The sausage gives stuffing really nice richness. It's important to cook it first so that we develop the flavor, and then we go in with the carrot, celery, onion, and leek. Now, carrot, celery, onion, and leek are mirepoix, and what it offers is a complete bouquet of flavor. It will transform your stuffing. I'm using the food processor because it will make short work of it. I'm going in with leek, so everything has been peeled, and I'm just running it through the shredder. I want it nice and fine so that when it does go in, it breaks down for the most part. Remember, this is a flavor base. This is not like a soup or a stew where I really want to see this, but I'd really like all those flavors to be in there. Celery in. You can see it makes the job very easy. The great thing about using the food processor is everything is uniform in size, which means it'll all cook the same, and it already smells incredible. Take the blade off. You can see that beautiful array of all those fresh vegetables are now going to go into the stuffing. With about 1/4 pound of butter to start, I'm going to need lots of moisture for all that bread. And I'm going to saute this and begin to develop flavor in that flavor base, and then mix all these ingredients together, making sure before I ever put it in the turkey that I fully cool the stuffing for food safety. The fragrance from that flavor base is already filling my kitchen. These gorgeous pears, I'm going to leave the skin on because there's so much flavor in the skin. And watch how easy it is to prepare this. I just simply slice off the 4 sides. Set that aside. Nice fine slice. And I'm going to put this into the stuffing raw. I want that little bit of sweetness to come through. It's beautiful when you're eating the stuffing. You get that little bite of sweetness, little bite of fragrance from the fresh herbs. It's just incredible. I'm going to set this aside. One thing that I've found that works really good is to use the actual roasting pan. You've got so much and so many ingredients to go in. It's nice to have a bit of space to work with it. I'm going to put in, I've got some rye, pumpernickel, sourdough. I already have an incredible flavor base just based on the types of bread. Now let's build on those flavors. In goes the sausage. Got these beautiful chestnuts going in. They'll add a real richness. And this gorgeous sliced pear. Look at that. It looks absolutely delicious already. I'm telling you, once you make the stuffing, it'll be a family favorite. Now, the flavor base. Poultry seasoning you can get dry. I'm going to challenge you to use some fresh. You don't need a lot of it. So I've got fresh thyme going in. This is just the thyme leaves. It smells incredible. Fresh rosemary, chopped finely. Sage. If you're not sure about knife skills for preparing chopped herbs, you can check out the first series which focused on knife skills. Now that that's all brought together, let's have a look at this flavor base we developed. So you've got this all brought together, nicely sauteed, nice and tender, and I'm just going to spread that around. It's beautiful. Oh, I just love this. I'm going to fold this together a bit, and you can see why I use that pan. It allows me to move it around, massaging those ingredients together and getting all of that flavor incorporated in all of the bread. Now some stock. Stock will help to moisten the bread, but let's face it, a nicely developed stock will add incredible flavor to whatever you put together. I like to turn out the stuffing on a tray. The baking sheet allows it to completely cool and allows me to season it evenly as well. It gives me a chance to have a look at all of the beautiful work. Some fresh ground black pepper. And I've got some nice flaked sea salt here. This will make sure it's perfectly seasoned, and as soon as it's cooled, ready to go into the cavity. I found over the years that while I'm waiting for the stuffing to cool, I can throw together a cranberry sauce. I love doing my own because it really adds an element of flavor. You can get the canned jelly, gelatinous, nasty stuff, but this is too easy to not make yourself. Starting with some frozen cranberries. You can get them fresh and keep them frozen. They're so bright and tart. They're such an incredible ingredient. What I do to change things up a bit is I always use brown sugar and I use orange juice. The orange juice gives it a nice little zip, and cranberry and orange goes really well together. Perfect. Now, orange zest, which really brings that essence of the orange directly in. You get good flavor from the juice, but let's face it, from the zest, you get that huge punch of beautiful, I can smell it coming off the pan already, it's incredible. The other thing that I really like to incorporate is spices. So I've got here a cinnamon stick. Now I'm gonna put these spices in, but then I'm gonna take them out. What I've done is I've tucked in cloves into either end. So I get cinnamon sticks, I'll drop a couple in there. I've got 4 cloves. And I've got this beautiful star anise. Star anise is licorice in flavor. It's beautiful, and with this, it's an absolutely perfect match. So I'm just gonna stir that up. And the great thing about making your own cranberry sauce, especially starting it off first thing in the morning, is it fills the house with this incredible Christmas blend of spices, and it's really simple. Medium heat, about 20 minutes or so, let it bubble up, pull the spices out, and it's gonna be perfectly set. The other thing that I like to work on early in the morning is to have the potatoes ready. Now I don't start them, but I get them set on the stove, and you'll see I've left the skins on. I'll show you later in the sequence how we peel the skins. It comes off really easy, but leaving the skins on gives your potatoes a very different flavor, one that I think is unmistakable and you're gonna want to do. Putting bay leaves in, and I've got an herb spice. You can use a coarse salt, but I've got herb salt. It's a nice mixture of a variety of salts. And you see how much I'm putting in? I wanna make sure that I season that water heavily. That way, when it comes time to eating them, they're perfectly seasoned and I won't have to add anything to it. With my stuffing down to below 4 degrees and the cavity seasoned with salt and pepper, I've got my turkey ready to stuff. It's important to tie the legs so that I get good, even cooking. So I'm just gonna use some butcher's twine and bring them together and then finish stuffing. The legs tied together firmly, I can now stuff the last little bit in the cavity and make sure there's some of this good stuff poking out the other side. It's important to not stuff it too tightly, and I'll show you how to make, we've done stuffing, but I'll show you how to make dressing. So we'll do a separate side dish of the dressing. Just take it, set this aside for a minute, get out the roasting pan. It's important to have a nice large roasting pan, lots of room around. Just take and set that in. I've decided to use a little bit of citrus and some onion, which will all caramelize, and as it roasts, just develop really nice flavor. I'm gonna build a pan sauce underneath. So I wanna make sure I put at least a ½ liter of water in. That way any of the drippings, rather than just hitting the pan and evaporating, they'll be collected by the water and help me develop a really nice gravy. I want to just take a moment and pat it dry before I add any butter. Make sure it's completely dried off, inside and out. And now some butter. I've got some melted butter. Of course, butter will bring flavor. It's actually going to help to brown the turkey as well and give it really nice crisp skin. There's nothing worse than skin that's kind of soggy. Making sure to get all those nooks and crannies. Beautiful. Now, I've got some fresh sage, which I'm just going to lay out on the top. Of course, sage is a main ingredient in a poultry seasoning, and I think it looks a little bit like a mosaic. It's very, very pretty. Of course, the butter helps it stick. We always eat with our eyes before we ever taste or smell anything, so it's nice to have that going on. A little bit of fresh thyme on top as well. Beautiful. Got some fresh ground black pepper. You can see that turkey looks just gorgeous already. tuck some of this around. Some sage everywhere. Beautiful. This is great for using to garnish when it goes to the table as well. I'm going to use a little bit of this beautiful coarse salt. Of course, the turkey is a very thick protein, so we want to make sure we get deep inside the meat when we're seasoning. Now, all I have to do is tent it with foil, the shiny side in, and a couple really important points about turkey. If you're deep thawing a frozen turkey, make sure to account for about 5 hours per pound if it's frozen, if you're doing it in the refrigerator. If you're using it in the sink and using running water, take about an hour per pound. A turkey like this is going to take 20 minutes per pound to cook. And when you're figuring for the number of guests you have, figure anywhere from a pound to a pound and a half, and you'll have enough turkey for everybody. Now this is going in the oven. I'm going to put it in at 350 degrees. Mark my watch, and it won't be long, and the kitchen will be full of the fragrance of fresh roast turkey. With any stuffing that's left over, I'm going to prepare a dressing, and all the dressing is stuffing outside of the turkey. I love to put these frozen cranberries on top because that really balances out the richness of the stuffing. All I have to do is put it in a pan, cover it up, and that can go into my small convection oven, or it can go into the oven once I pull out the turkey. Now for those giblets, the dreaded giblets. I've got a pan here 3/4 filled with cold water. I'm going to add 1 chopped shallot, some fresh thyme, sage, and rosemary. I want to make a powerful stock here, and I've got a bay leaf. I'm not going to add any seasoning to it right now, but that's going to go on the stove like that, and it can simmer for hours. And what I'll have at the end is a concentrate of perfect turkey flavor. Now look at this cranberry sauce. It is beautiful. Look at the texture. You can see, and I wish you could smell this. I can smell the cinnamon and the star anise. It's just gorgeous. Now, one of my secret ingredients is a little bit of tawny or ruby port. Add the port in at this point, as much as you want, and then put it back on the stove. As it cooks, all the alcohol will come off, but the perfect thing is you'll have all of that incredible development from the port in that sauce. You're going to love it. How would you love to have boiled squash with your... No, you don't want boiled squash. You want roasted squash with a wild rice pilaf stuffed inside, and that's what we're going to make. And it's so simple, and that's again what I love about it. If it's not simple, you won't do it. Shallots in the bottom of the pan. Mushrooms in the bottom of the pan. I'm going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and some butter. Normally when I was doing a rice pilaf, I would start this on the stove top. But because we're gonna stuff it inside these gorgeous squash, I'm not gonna be short on flavor for a minute. So now 1 cup of rice, and this is a beautiful combination of wild rice, white rice, and brown rice. 1 cup in, and 2 cups of a good stock. Can be chicken stock, can be beef stock. I'm gonna give that a little stir. And the all-important Bouquet Garnier, which is going to give us all kinds of incredible flavor. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. It's nice. I'm putting the clear lid on so I can see what's going on inside. That's going to go inside the oven, 350 degrees, for about 45 minutes. When it comes out, it'll be light and fluffy, completely seasoned and perfectly done. We can stuff it in the squash and then roast them. The perfect flaky pie crust for a deep dish pecan pie is as simple as 6 ingredients. All-purpose flour, cold butter, frozen actually, frozen shortening, and sugar. A pinch of salt, and then I just bring that together until it has the consistency. I'm going to pulse this about 12 times. The consistency I'm looking for is that of sand. The French call it sablé. And what it means is that the butter and the shortening has been cut perfectly into that all-purpose flour. Let's have a quick look. And sure enough, look at that consistency. Perfect sand-like consistency. To finish, I'm going to turn it on, remove the feeder tube, and slowly pour iced water in until that dough comes completely together. When it comes together, you know that it's perfect. The texture is just right. It's important to refrigerate before use. It allows the dough to rest, and it makes it so perfect because it keeps the butter and the shortening cool and allows you to work it with the rolling pin to get it the perfect thickness, and that's really all you have to do. Just tuck it up like that and set it in the refrigerator. While our dough is resting, we'll assemble the maple pecan pie. I've got a total of 6 eggs going in, 5 are already in. There's the number 6. And then it's just building this recipe. So butter in, I've got maple syrup, beautiful, fragrant, pure maple syrup, and honey. Honey's replacing the brown sugar in this case. Honey is 10 times sweeter than sugar. You need a little less of it. Corn syrup, that gorgeous golden nectar. It's unmistakable flavor in pecan pie. Then some fun ingredients. We've got bourbon. Yum. Smells so great. Nice thing about the bourbon is you get the oak from the bourbon. Vanilla and salt. It's important to add the salt. I've got some orange zest. I'm going to take off the zest from a full orange. What the orange zest does is it just brightens up and really helps to define the flavors. It gives you basically a spotlight on everything you put inside. I'll drop this down, start it off slow to begin, and I'll wind it up and get really, really smooth texture before folding in the pecans. Velvety and smooth, this is ready for the pecans. Incorporate the pecans. I don't add them during the mixing process because I don't want to break them up. And I'm just going to fold that together, let that sit, and as soon as I get the dough rolled out, I'll pour this in. Beautiful. After resting, my dough is the perfect consistency. Just a little bit of flour on the countertop, and then I'm able to roll that delicate dough up onto my rolling pin, pull my pie plate back, and roll that gorgeous dough out. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Then I'm gently just going to fold that down into the corners. Trimming off some of the excess around the sides. As far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as excess crust. Anything that's extra, I don't like it to be too fussy. You can use a mold if you want a really refined look, but for me, I love that just baked from home look. Press that into the bottom. I'm just going to tuck up these edges. I'm just going to go around the edge, pressing the sides, and as I do, I'm just using my index finger and middle finger and just working around that outside. You can see how that appears. Gives each piece that nice big bite of crust to balance out the richness of that beautiful filling. I'm going to use the bottom of a fork to perforate the base. And I'm going to do the sides. If you need to do a few of these in advance, say if you're doing 3 or 4 pies, go ahead and do this, but then cover it with plastic wrap and get it back in the refrigerator. Remember, we want to keep that butter nice and cold so we can handle it. Now, for the pecan. Look at this beautiful. Oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. It smells amazing. I can smell the bourbon, I can smell the maple. Now all I do is just even out those pecans on top. Lovely. That's going directly into the oven, 350 degrees. It'll take about an hour to set, and it'll be beautiful and golden to finish. I absolutely love the way the oven finishes that rice pilaf. Before I start stuffing, I'm just going to put a little bit of butter in each of the squash. That'll melt down and help to flavor the squash. A little bit of salt too in the bottom. Even though this is perfectly seasoned, I want to make sure I put some salt and pepper in both just to add a bit of seasoning. Fish out the bouquet garnier, set that aside. Smells incredible. And then look at this perfectly finished wild rice pilaf. I start stuffing. You see how easy it is, and this is really an above average side to a holiday feast. Plus the optics on it, it just looks beautiful. The way that I finish it is I fill it up to the top just like that. I take the lid and I cook it with the lid on. That'll go into the oven, 350 degrees, for about an hour. When it comes out, you can eat the whole thing. This bird is smelling incredible. That's one of the telltale signs when it gets close to being done. You can see it's started to brown, but I'm going to remove the foil, leave it off now, basting it about every 20 minutes so that it stays nice and tender. Remember, it needs to be 165 degrees in the deepest part of the flesh without touching the bone. The squash, after just an hour, are perfectly finished. The outside is tender. You can eat that flesh, that beautiful flesh on the inside as well, and the rice is crispy and tender. Look at this dressing. So the side of dressing has come out and it is beautiful. It smells great and has all of the character that the stuffing has. Now let's have a look at this incredible pecan pie. This has been an hour total time, and look at these incredible results. The great thing is I was able to put those in that combo oven. It really allowed me to allow the turkey all the time that it needed to get these results. Now look how gorgeous that is. All I have to do to finish up this incredible feast is to pull the turkey, allow it to rest a little bit, collect some of these pan juices, and finish up that gravy. While the turkey rests, I'm just reheating the pan. I added a little bit of water, a little bit of white wine, deglazing the entire bottom, make sure I get every last little bit. The other thing that I've done is incorporated the stock that I made from the giblets earlier. Strain the gravy through a fine mesh sieve, tapping it lightly to get every last little bit of that beautiful, beautiful pan juice. I've prepared a roux and kept it in the freezer. It's really important to use a cold roux, or in this case a frozen roux, in hot liquid. The expansion happens much quicker and I'll get thickening really easy. The gravy's been on for about 15 minutes. It's important to cook it for that long so that the flour can fully cook. You can see it's glossy, it has a beautiful sheen, and is very luxurious in color, and the flavor is just remarkable. There's nothing like a proper pan gravy.